Have you ever wondered what would happen if Saturn exploded? It's a mind-boggling question, isn't it? But before we dive into the realm of cosmic hypotheticals, let's ground ourselves in some scientific reality. Contrary to what science fiction might lead us to believe, planets like Saturn don't just explode. Why, you ask? Well, it all boils down to what Saturn is made of and how it's structured. Saturn, the sixth planet from our Sun, is a gas giant, composed primarily of hydrogen and helium, with traces of other elements such as methane and ammonia. Its spectacular rings are made up of countless particles of ice, dust, and rock. But what it doesn't have is a nuclear core. You see, for an object to explode in a star-like supernova, it needs to be a star to begin with. Stars have massive nuclear cores that fuse hydrogen into helium, releasing an enormous amount of energy in the process. When a star runs out of fuel, it collapses under its own gravity, triggering a catastrophic explosion. Saturn, on the other hand, lacks this nuclear furnace at its heart. Its core, while dense and hot, is not undergoing nuclear fusion. It's more akin to a giant ball of gas and liquid surrounded by layers of metallic hydrogen in a thick atmosphere. So any notion of Saturn spontaneously exploding like a star is, scientifically speaking, off the table. That said, the universe is a vast and unpredictable place, and while Saturn may not explode in the traditional sense, there's no telling what kind of cosmic events could disrupt its existence. Maybe a massive collision or the close passage of a rogue star could lead to some form of catastrophic event. But even then, the result would likely be more of a dispersal of its gases rather than a fiery explosion. So, while Saturn exploding is purely hypothetical, it's an intriguing concept to explore. Stay tuned as we dive into this fascinating thought experiment in the next scenes. Imagine for a moment, against all odds, Saturn does explode. What would happen in the immediate aftermath? The explosion of a gas giant like Saturn would be a cataclysm of cosmic proportions. The first thing to consider is the release of energy. Saturn, being mostly composed of hydrogen and helium, would explode with a force beyond comprehension. This energy would manifest in the form of heat, light, and a shockwave that would radiate outwards at incredible speed. Imagine a detonation so powerful it sends a shockwave racing across the solar system. This shockwave would be like a tsunami of energy, a wave of invisible force traveling at nearly the speed of light. In its wake, it would leave a trail of devastation, shaking planets and disrupting orbits. But the energy release is just part of the story. The explosion would also send a torrent of debris hurtling into space. Fragments of Saturn, from tiny particles to chunks the size of small moons, would be launched in all directions. This debris would become a swarm of cosmic projectiles, each one capable of causing significant damage if it were to collide with another celestial body. And then there's the matter of Saturn's core. If the core survived the initial explosion, it might be left as a rogue body, hurtling through space without the protective shell of gas and dust that once surrounded it. Or it could fragment, adding to the deadly rain of debris. The explosion would also have a profound effect on the sun's light. As the shockwave and debris clouds spread out, they would scatter and block sunlight, casting long, eerie shadows across the solar system. This would lead to a sudden, dramatic change in the lighting conditions on all the planets, potentially causing a drop in temperature and disrupting ecosystems. In the immediate aftermath of such an event, chaos would reign supreme in our solar system. The explosion would trigger a chain of events that could reshape the face of our cosmic neighborhood. The effects would be far-reaching and quite possibly devastating, but as we'll see in the next scene, the impact wouldn't stop with the immediate aftermath. It would continue to reverberate throughout the solar system for centuries to come. Saturn is not alone. It has 82 moons and its iconic rings. What would happen to them? Just imagine this for a moment. A titanic explosion rips through the heart of Saturn, sending shockwaves across its system. The first casualties of this cosmic catastrophe would undoubtedly be Saturn's moons and rings. Saturn's rings, a dazzling display of cosmic dust and ice, would be first in the line of fire. The shockwaves from the explosion would send these particles scattering into space, obliterating the majestic rings that we've all come to associate with the planet. It would be a spectacle of destruction on a scale that's hard to comprehend. Now let's talk about the moons. Saturn has a whopping 82 of them, each with their own unique characteristics and features. The moons closest to the planet, like Mimas and Enceladus, would likely be obliterated instantly. The heat and energy from the explosion would be too much for these celestial bodies to withstand. But what about the outer moons? Those like Titan and Iapetus, which are a little further out. Well, the explosion might not obliterate them instantly, but their fate would be no less grim. The gravitational balance that keeps these moons in their orbits would be shattered. They could be sent hurtling off into space, becoming rogue moons, or they could crash into each other, creating even more celestial debris. And then there's the possibility of fragments from Saturn and its moons being ejected at high speeds, creating a kind of cosmic shotgun blast. These fragments could go on to collide with other bodies in the solar system, causing further destruction. So in essence, the explosion of Saturn would be a cataclysmic event for its moons and rings. It would spell the end of the system as we know it, transforming a once serene and beautiful part of our solar system into a chaotic and dangerous debris field. Saturn's explosion would undoubtedly spell doom for its moons and rings. What about the rest of the solar system? Would we feel the effects here on Earth? Well, it's quite an interesting question. The answer, quite simply, is yes. If Saturn were to explode, the effects would be felt across our solar system, and that includes our own planet, Earth. Imagine the debris from the explosion hurtling through space at incredible speeds. Some of these fragments might be as small as a grain of sand, others as large as mountains. These fragments would spread out in all directions, forming a sort of cosmic shotgun blast. Any planet unlucky enough to be in the path of this debris could be pelted with these fragments, causing potentially significant damage. Now let's consider the shockwave. A shockwave from such an explosion would ripple outwards like the ripples from a stone thrown into a pond. This shockwave could disturb the orbits of the other planets in our solar system. Imagine if the orbits of Mars or Jupiter were altered. The effects could be catastrophic, causing shifts in climate and potentially rendering these planets uninhabitable. But what about Earth? Well, that would largely depend on the direction of the explosion. If we were lucky and the explosion was directed away from us, we might be spared the immediate effects. We wouldn't see a rain of debris or feel a massive shockwave. However, that doesn't mean we'd be completely safe. The loss of Saturn's gravitational pull would likely cause disruptions in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. This could send asteroids careening off in new directions, potentially towards Earth. In addition, the brightness of the explosion could potentially outshine the sun for a time, causing temporary daylight in the middle of the night and potentially disrupting ecosystems. While Earth might not be directly hit, the entire solar system would feel the effects of Saturn's explosion. A sobering thought, isn't it? The explosion of a planet, even one as distant as Saturn, would have far-reaching effects that could forever alter the landscape of our solar system. The immediate aftermath would be catastrophic, but what about the long-term consequences? Let's delve into the future, centuries or even millennia after the explosion of Saturn. The loss of Saturn's gravitational pull would be like removing a key piece from an intricately balanced mobile. The entire system would be thrown askew. Saturn, the second largest planet in our solar system, exerts an immense gravitational pull. Its absence would mean a significant shift in the gravitational balance of our solar system. This could potentially lead to a destabilization of the orbits of other planets, including our own Earth. Imagine Earth's orbit becoming more elliptical, causing drastic variations in our planet's distance from the Sun. This could result in extreme climate conditions, making life as we know it incredibly challenging, if not impossible. The gravitational chaos could even send some planets or asteroids careening out of the solar system altogether, or worse, on a collision course with other celestial bodies. And then there's the matter of debris. The explosive death of Saturn would scatter fragments across the solar system. These pieces, some as small as grains of sand, others as large as mountains, would continue to pose a threat for millennia. This debris, hurtling through space at incredible speeds, could become a celestial minefield. Any spacecraft, whether human or alien, would need to navigate this dangerous landscape. This debris could also bombard other planets, including Earth. Imagine a constant rain of meteors, not just a spectacle for stargazers, but a potential hazard for life on Earth. The larger fragments could cause massive destruction, akin to the asteroid impact that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. In the long run, the explosion of Saturn could leave our solar system forever changed. It highlights our fragility in the grand cosmic scheme and underscores the importance of understanding and preserving the delicate balance of our celestial neighborhood. The universe is a vast and unpredictable place, and events like these remind us of our place within it.